man. Things are getting exciting. We got a couple weeks and The Last Hero's out. Album number 5. How are you guys feeling going into this release?
Good. I think that first of all, it's good to be back out there and get back to reconnecting with our fans and I think that it's a very exciting time when you know the record's going to be kind of unveiled to your fan base. It's kind of nerve-wracking. The analogy I always use is it's like a big, huge term paper that you spend instead of just spending a semester putting it together. You spend a few years, and then instead of being graded by your professor, you're graded by a lot more people. So being your fan base. So yeah, I mean, it's exciting, but it's also, it can be a little bit nerve-wracking.
Does it make it easier for you guys, all 4 albums, including number 5 so far, have been received very well. Number 5 received pretty well with the media so far, but the first 4 were received really well by the fans. Does it make it easier going into number 5 when it's like, well, they've liked everything else we've done, or does it make it more nerve-wracking knowing that everything's been received well so far?
Yeah, it's for me. Generally, I tend to avoid reading any sort of reviews or I live like an ostrich. I just kind of have my hand in this, or have my head in the sand, so to speak. But when you do hear kind of secondhand, the reviews have been positive. People seem to be enjoying it, and that's great. I think the hardest thing is once you build up a certain legacy and a certain expectation from your fan base, you don't want to let them down. And our fan base, I think they do expect a certain amount out of us. And my hunch is that if we were to phone it in, be it a record or a performance or whatever, they're going to let us know. And so that's something that we don't take lightly, and it certainly helps motivate you to do the best you can.
Awesome, man. This album's being released about a week after Louder Than Life, which is the first weekend in October. Now, I've been to the first 2, and I know you've been to the first 2, and Mark's been to the first 2. I think you guys are the only band that has members that have played all 3 Louder Than Life festivals so far. It's got to be exciting going back to that festival for year 3, especially with a new album on the horizon. And sometimes the festivals bands will do something special for a release at a festival. Do you guys have anything up your sleeve for Louder Than Life? Maybe some new material, anything like that?
I think that the main difference will just be playing some of the newer material. We'll definitely do Show Me a Leader. We'll probably, I'm not sure if we'll do My Champion at that point, but the trick when you're putting out a new record is, especially when you're playing a festival environment, is you want to play the songs that people are familiar with.
Oh yeah.
And with festivals, you don't always have your own fan base there. You have your fans, but then you have a lot of other people there. They're there for other bands. So it's good to play the songs that you're known for. Otherwise, you might just go out there and play to a bunch of vacant looks like, what are these guys doing? But so I think that's the approach we'll take this time.
Awesome, yeah. I love My Champion. That's actually my favorite track on the record. That
very cool. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. That and You Will Be Remembered are my 2 favorites. They're just amazing.
Thank you.
Absolutely, man. I read that the writing process was an interesting one. I read that you wrote some of the material while you were on tour with Slash. Mark wrote some of his stuff when he was on his solo tour. Is that accurate? And if so, is that normal for you guys, or did that make it tougher, easier? How was that for you?
Well, I think that for me, writing on the road has become necessary just because I spend so much time on the road.
Yeah.
And if I don't, then I'm going to come up to an album writing process and not be prepared. So I've had to learn to write in my hotel room or write on the bus and make the best of it. And sometimes that can prove to be helpful for the songs because of the fact that we get to travel and see different parts of the world, that can have a profound effect on the creative part. There are a fair amount of ideas that were actually written while I was in India touring with Slash. India was just such a unique experience for me and my wife, and I think getting to see that really helped to bring a certain vibe to some of the musical parts that I brought in. But with that said, there were still ideas that the genesis of them were in my home here in Spokane. So it really just depends, and we always just want to kind of try and keep yourself open for when the inspiration hits.
Awesome. And listening to the lyrics and just the overall theme and material on the record, I feel like with the record coming out at the time that it's releasing, it fits so perfectly with everything that's going on in society. Was that something that influenced you when you sat down to write the lyrics for a lot of these songs, especially songs like Show Me a Leader, My Champion, even the title track? I mean, it's a very, very honest and emotional lyrical record. I mean, how much society influenced what went into it?
Yeah, quite a bit this time. And normally we tend to be, at least I'll speak for myself as a lyric writer, I tend to be more introspective. But with what's going on in the world around us, it was almost deafening. It was hard not to it was hard not to have that infiltrate the writing process lyrically, and it's probably the most socially conscious record we've ever made is Alterr Bridge. I was a little nervous about doing that, to be perfectly honest with you, because we've never taken that approach before. And one thing you don't want to do is take a certain stand on a political issue, and try and shove some idea down people's throats. Our fan base isn't going to have that. So instead, what we do, or at least what I did lyrically, was try and reflect the emotions that people were feeling, the overall sense of disillusionment, lack of trust, and express those emotions as opposed to expressing an agenda.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, I don't feel like it's shoving anything down anyone's throat. I feel like it's just very, I agree with a lot of it. And I mean, it's going to hit home with a lot of people, I think, especially with what's coming up in November. I mean, I feel like it fits. But I do agree that right now you have to be honestly careful with what you say sometimes, because you don't know
Yeah,
it's kind of sad, but I feel like this is the record that people need at this point in time. I feel like it's a good thing in a lot of ways. I really do. And
very cool.
absolutely. And this is record 5, and it's hard nowadays for a band to go 5 albums into a career with the original members, all same members that started the band. And aside from yourself, the rest of the guys have been together even longer. Um, it's a testament to you guys to be able to stay together as long as you have, and with really no big issues. It looks like. I mean, what has this ride been like? 5 records in, and I mean, how much does the familiarity of the other guys in the band help Alterr Bridge?
I think that what's happened is because we've been able to kind of weather the storm together. Um, there's a certain amount of trust that you gain, especially creatively, and I think that you learn about communicating. That's a very important part of any sort of relationship, be it family or bandmates. Because being in a band is like being married to 3 or 4 other people. So you have to communicate and express if something's not working for you, and try and be honest. And that's not always easy, but I think that we found a way to make that work. And we're all pretty chill individuals, pretty mellow. So I think that helps with the dynamic as well.
Awesome. And I mean, you guys take a couple years in between records. It's not like it used to be with a lot of bands where you release a record, then a year later another record, a year later another record. You take time in between records. You and Mark have your own projects that you do, and I imagine that helps as well, giving the machine time to breathe and rest, and then come back refreshed and good to go again. I mean,
yeah, that helps a lot. It definitely keeps it. I think the term fresh is important, because I think if we were to just get off the road from albums, finish an album cycle, get off the road, write another album, I think that would be it would become redundant, and I think it would make itself evident in the material. So I
Absolutely.
think this method of every 3 years works well for the band.
Definitely, and it's the first record on Napalm, new label. What was so perfect about Napalm and their roster is amazing, one of the best rosters in all of rock and metal. I mean, what was it about Napalm, and how has it been being with them so far?
Overall, it's been good. I think the reason we went with Napalm internationally was because we were talking to a number of different labels, and they just they felt like they would have the as far as the passion they showed for the band and the overall level of commitment they were willing to put into this band, made it feel like it was the appropriate home for us for this album. So that's so far so good.
Awesome, man. You guys just finished. You guys are doing some shows right now, and you guys just finished up the tour with Breaking Benjamin, Disturbed, and Saint Asonia. And looking at that lineup, I caught that tour at the Chicago Open Air show. But that tour had to have been like a blast from the past for a lot of you guys. I mean, so much familiarity with the guy, every band on the lineup on the tour. I mean, how was that tour? And I mean, you guys are on the road right now. Can we look forward to maybe a headline run after Europe this fall and winter, maybe early 2017?
Yeah, yeah. The Disturbed, Breaking Benjamin and Saint Asonia tour, that was a lot of fun. It was definitely it was like a summer long rock and roll summer camp.
Nice.
But yeah, we got this European run coming up, and then hopefully we'll get back to the U.S. I think the plan is first quarter we're going to hit the U.S. again,
Awesome.
and at this point it's looking like between what we just did with the summer run with Disturbed and Breaking Benjamin, and what we have coming up in within the next 6 to 8 months, it's probably going to be the most we've toured the U.S. in quite some time. So.
Awesome. With a record like this, I mean, I wouldn't expect anything different. I mean, I feel like musically, especially guitar wise, you and Mark, two of the strongest guitar players in all of rock. I feel like this may be your guys' strongest album musically and even lyrically. It's just so polished and so well done. So I mean, I would
Well,
love
thank you.
absolutely, and man, hopefully we will see you at Louder Than Life, and hopefully we'll see you on a U.S. run in the spring or the early stages of 2017. Man, Myles, thank you so much for talking to me
Thank
today.
you. My pleasure, man. It's definitely appreciate you taking the time, Reggie.
Absolutely, man. Have a good afternoon.
All right, you too.
Man, things are getting exciting. We got a couple weeks and the last Heroes out. Album number 5. How are you guys feeling going into this release?
Good. I think that it's first of all, it's good to be back out there and get back to